Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the work session of Las Cruces City Council. Today is Monday, June 22nd, 2020, approximately 1:03 p.m. Before we begin, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I believe Jennifer Martinez is here to introduce our pet of the week.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Jennifer Martinez with the city's communications office, and today I'm going to introduce you to Leo. Leo is almost 4 years old. He is a shy, gentle, and reserved little guy. He's looking for a home that's willing to help him get out of his shell. He's shy at first, but he forms deep bonds. He will stay by your side and shower his humans with unfiltered love as long as they are willing to do the same. The Animal Service Center hours of operation are Monday through Friday, noon to 6 p.m. and on Saturday and Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. And again, there are restrictions that continue. So you will be asked to call in advance to make an appointment. That number is 3820018. Offsite adoption events have been canceled until further notice. And along with those limitations, you are asked to go online to ascmb.org/adoptions to take a look at some of the pets that they do have available. The cost for those pets for adoption is $25. Animal control is only bringing emergency cases to the shelter. That's sick or injured animals and also owner surrendered animals. They're also only taking emergency help appointments from adopted or fostered animals. Today, if I may remind you about pet licensing, pets in Las Cruces must be registered and licensed, and you can do so through the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley. However, they are temporarily suspending their in-person licensing. So you can call again that number 3820018, and they can arrange to have your license mailed to you. They may ask for additional information. For fees, the altered pets, the cost is $7 per year. Unaltered pets, the cost is $50 per year. And senior citizens with altered pets, they will be charging you $5, but you will need to show proof with a valid photo ID. Now, the communication office thanks you for this opportunity to bring you up to speed on ways that COVID-19 affects us and how the city is responding. COVID-19 has put a lot of restrictions on life, and while social distancing is keeping us apart, Parks and Rec still wants to have a spectacular 4th of July holiday, so they've arranged for a virtual electric light parade. The theme is celebrating our heroes, so decorate your car or your yard, your pet or your face covering, and send pictures to clcengage@los-cruces.org, and you will need to get those in by next Monday. There are rules and there are prizes, and we ask that you go to los-cruces.org/4th of July to get all the information on the rules, and we wish you good luck and wish you a great holiday season coming up. So get those photos in, clcengage@los-cruces.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so the first item we have is, and the only item, is 1.1, items 1.1, strategic business plan accomplishments. And I believe Amber Vaughn will be discussing.
Yes, good morning, Mayor and Council. Let's share my screen here. Let me know if you can view that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Amber Vaughn. I am the Performance Manager, and today I'll be going over the City Council Strategic Plan accomplishments and progress, as well as some of the key items from the Department Strategic Business Plans. So first, a little background. In July of 2017, City Council approved a results-based strategic plan. This plan covered years 2017 through 2022 and had 20 citywide strategic goals. These goals were organized into 4 themes: capital improvements and infrastructure, communication, involvement and follow-up, economic and community development, as well as education. The first item on the strategic plan for 2017 was the Las Cruces community will experience a greater engagement with their city government, as evidenced by off-site city council work sessions. We had a total of 9. 2 of those were in 2017, 4 in 2018, and 3 in 2019. So far, we haven't been able to have any in 2020 due to the pandemic. We also implemented policy review committees and the Neighborhood Leadership Academy, and we have had 86 graduates to date. We had 20 enrolled in the spring of 20, but due to a pandemic, we were unable to finish that. And Jamie Rickman, our community engagement officer, is working on a virtual academy. The second item in 2017 was downtown patrons will have access to restaurants, taverns, music, and art. We have 20 new businesses in downtown, 8 in 2017, 8 in 2018, and 4 in 2019. The next item was a 2018 strategic priority, and it was by January 1st of 2018, the city will offer internships, apprenticeships, and mentorship programs to the community. Since 2017, the city has added 8 new co-op and intern positions. In 2019, we had 50 paid and unpaid interns and co-ops. And in the spring of 2020, we had 40 interns and co-ops working throughout the city. The next item, by July 1st of 2018, the community will have a city-approved results-oriented plans for sidewalks, parks, median landscaping, and facilities. The sidewalk plan, the active transportation plan, was approved in October of 2018. The parks master plan was approved in November of 2018. Maintenance schedules were approved in August of 2018. The tree policy, park restroom policy, and median landscaping policy were approved in February 2019. The facilities plan was approved in April of 2019, and coming up is the integrated pest management policy, and that date is to be determined. The next item, the fifth item on the strategic plan, is that by July 1st, 2018, information and referral services for families and young children will be integrated into all appropriate city services. Currently, a brochure is available with this information at all these city facilities listed on the slide, as well as on the city website. Item 6, by July 1st of 2018, Las Cruces City Government will be managing for results as evidenced by department and business plans and performance-based budgeting, which both been implemented, performance reports and performance dashboards, which were delayed due to software, but are planned to be available to council and the community in September 2020. The city is also working on the alignment of employee performance, as well as implementing performance contracting where it's applicable. In 2018, there will be 18 city-led events held in downtown, and in 2018, we had 33 total events held downtown. Also a 2018 priority was by December 31st, the Las Cruces businesses will be able to access all permitting and license services in an efficient, effective customer service focused one-stop shop. Currently, all development-related permits, business licenses, and registrations are available online. Item 9, in 2019, the relationship between the business community and the city will be strengthened as evidenced by a one-stop shop for licensing and permitting, which has been implemented. More small businesses locating downtown. And as I mentioned earlier, there have been 20 new businesses downtown. The city will have jointly sponsored events and educational programs. Currently, the city works with the Las Cruces Public Schools, the Academic Career Exploration Program, offering opportunities to high school students. We also, in 2020, the city had the first utilities intern to graduate from Joniana Branch Community College and get employment with the city of Las Cruces. We also have a city mentorship program. We also had a goal of more businesses locating in the West Mesa Industrial Park, and we have had 1 new business out there. Another goal, which is we're still working on, is the percentage of high school and university graduates staying locally. Starting in the fall of 2020, our HR department will conduct exit interviews with the city interns and co-ops to start seeing if we can track this data. We also wanted an increase in local contracting for city services and products. Our purchasing program is working on educational work sessions for vendors to explain the process of working with the city. And last, in 2019, working with the partners, the community will have access to engaging public transportation connecting downtown, the university, and the convention center. In June of 2018, Route 2 increased its service stops to every 30 minutes. This gave the city the ability to accommodate transit service for special events downtown. In May of 2019, we extended the service hours on our weekdays to 10:30 p.m. And in April of 2020, the El Paseo South Solano Ad Hoc Committee was created. Sorry, that's too fast. Okay, and item 13. In 2020, the strat plan priority, Wi-Fi will be available in downtown, the Plaza, and Mesquite neighborhood. Currently, the Plaza has Wi-Fi available. The Klein Park project is in progress and has been delayed a little bit due to COVID. And we have public Wi-Fi available in all city facilities. Next, I'd like to go over some of the highlights from our departments and what they had in their strategic business plans. This will also include some items that are out in the future that people are working on and they wanted to highlight for council. First, a little background. Each department went through the process of developing their strategic business plan with a consultant. These plans are reviewed and updated by the departments on an annual basis. They are also reviewed by myself, the performance manager, the budget office, and the city manager's office. These plans are reported on quarterly to city management during the quarterly budget meetings. Right. The first department I'll go over is the city manager's office. Using our Tyler 311 system, by December 31st, 2019, we had a goal of 90% of resident inquiries will be received, acknowledged, and assigned within 7 calendar days. Currently, we are at 94%. The fleet program within the city manager's office had a goal of by December 31st, 2020, fleet policy, procedures, and management software will be in place to allow for real-time vehicle status reports to customers. Currently, this software implementation is in phase 2 of 3 phases. Next department is community development. They accomplished the goal of by December 31st, 2020, the community will experience an updated comprehensive plan that reflects the values, the current and future needs of the community, and is aligned with priorities of the city. Elevate Las Cruces was approved by City Council on February 18th of 2020. Also, as part of the peak, the city has been conducting surveys, and community development has a goal of 65% of outreach session participants will say their voices were heard. And as of the last survey we took, 74 of the respondents felt their voices were heard during those outreach sessions. Economic development. They had a goal of by December 31st, 2020, there will be 100% increase of businesses locating at or expanding near the airport. They have 4 new for-profit businesses since January of 2018. That is for a total of 11 for-profit businesses at the airport. The sustainability program has a goal of by 2022, the municipality will reach 25% of renewable energy. So far, they have had 3 solar installations, the police department, the animal service center, and the fire station 3. Also, the city has entered into the purchase power agreement with Amoresco. The city's financial services department had a goal that by July 1st of 2020, 85% of business processes will be written and have standard operating procedures in place. They identified 207 SOPs needing to be written, and currently they have 158 documented. So they're well on their way to completing that goal. They also had a goal that by December 1st of 2020, 85% of fixed assets that were disposed of would meet or exceed their useful life. In the current calendar year, we're at 88%. Las Cruces Fire Department achieved the goal of by December 2018, they will have an established mobile integrated healthcare program. Their next goal is by 2020, Las Cruces Fire Department will partner with local and social resources to provide mobile behavioral crisis response to the residents of Las Cruces. They have increased their collaboration with Las Cruces Police Department on home visits. Also, the police department, fire department are collaborating with local nonprofits to initiate a mobile crisis model. Human Resources Department, by December 31st of 2018, they had a goal of 90% of the applicable data will be accessible to end users throughout the city's personnel database. This goal has been achieved. The next goal they have is there also have been a goal by December 31st of 2021, the use of the applicant tracking software will be optimized by all departments. Currently, HR is working with the software and the departments to make sure we're using it efficiently. The legal department had a goal of 100% compliance with the Inspection of Public Records Act, the State Records Retention Act, and Open Meetings Act, and they have achieved that goal. They also had a goal that 60% of city employees surveyed would report that they agree or strongly agree that they work in an ethical climate. And as of the 2019 ethics survey, 78% of employees surveyed agreed or strongly agreed that they work in an ethical climate. Information Technology Department had some goals. One of them was that they would present by January 31st, 2019, a presentation to City Council to report from a subject matter expert on municipal broadband strategies. And this has been completed. And the other item, as I mentioned earlier, that by December 2020, all network connected city-owned properties will provide free Wi-Fi services. And this has been completed. Keep Las Cruces Beautiful program in our Parks and Rec department has a goal that annually 60% of their spots will be adopted, and 67% of those spots were adopted in the last year. They also have a goal that 90% of youth development and diversion program participants that do not reoffend within a year, and in the third quarter, they hit that at 98%. Las Cruces Police Department. By 2019, police personnel will be trained in a modern professional police academy and training facility in Las Cruces that produces community-specific training that aligns with local culture. The Las Cruces Police Department has moved their academy to the East Mesa Public Safety Complex. And they also have a future goal of by 2022, the annual property rate will be at or below the 5-year average of 4,600 reported incidents. And in 2019, those incidents were 3,571. Public Works Department had a goal by 2019 that 75% of reported potholes will be reported within 24 hours. And in FY20, 83% of reported potholes were repaired within 24 hours. They also had a goal of by 2021 to reduce travel time on major corridors by 10%. Those major corridors are East Loman Avenue, East University Avenue, and North Main Street. They have achieved approximately 18% improvement implementing the nighttime coordinated signal timing plan on University Avenue. Quality of life. By 2021, participation will increase 25% in quality of life science and technology programs. And as of May 2020, there has been an increase of 46.1%. Another long-term goal is by 2022, 50% of fixed route buses are battery electric powered. And the project did kick off in January of 22, and the bus request for proposal is scheduled for July of 2020. And last but not least, the Utilities Department. By 2020, the Las Cruces Utilities Department will increase its intake of green waste tonnage by 7% from 2,800 tons to 3,000 tons. And currently this fiscal year, they're at 2,817 tons, on track to meet that goal. Also, 100% of the cost of the Peregrinos funds will be exhausted every year before the end of the fiscal year. This has been achieved, but it does not include the additional funds made available due to COVID, but Utilities anticipates having the money exhausted as well by the end of the fiscal year. Thank you guys for your time. Myself, as well as the department directors and key staff, are available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amber. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and go to council members to see if they have any questions. Going once. Oh, Councilor Flores. and then Counselor Bencomo. Counselor Flores, are you there?
I was muted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So thank you, Ms. Vaughn, for your presentation. It was really, really quick. I was trying to take notes and it was difficult. But I am interested in knowing about the survey that was taken at page 17. You reported that 74% of residents at outreach sessions believe that they were informed. Something to that effect. Am I correct at page 17 or slide 17?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, this is Amber. Let's see, 7. Yes, that was our community development department. And it stated 65% of outreach session participants who say their voices were heard. And when we did that survey, 74% of people who took that survey said that they felt that their voices were heard during those sessions.
Thank you. But how many respondents were there? 100, 200, 300?
Councilor Flores, I don't have that off the top of my head. I know it was more than 100 or 200. We had quite a few, but I can get that data for you.
Okay, because the number sounds really good, but you know, and then it depends. I would like to see figures that show how many, if there's been an increase in community participation, because I know the city holds a lot of informational events like this, the outreach sessions. I know city councilors, we have our community meetings, and I mean, given the size of the city and everything we send out, we still get a small turnout relative to our population. So I would like to see those numbers, and then I would like to see what we're doing to make sure that people are participating at these sessions, because we get a lot of after the fact type feedback. So even though there's been opportunities for the community or residents or constituents to have input at these sessions, outreach sessions, they don't participate, and then they're upset about the outcomes. So I would like to see some more of that. And then the airport businesses, what were the goals for that, Ms. Vaughn?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, the goals for the airport were to increase the businesses locating at or expanding near the airport from 4 businesses to 8. We have had 4 new for-profit businesses since January 2018.
Okay, so from 4 to 8, so we've already accomplished 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So, and then as far as the quality of life that you reported at page 27, there were how many battery powered transportation, public transportation vehicles?
The goal is 50%. And I'd like to defer to Lynn Gallagher. She may have more information on that.
Thank you.
Gallagher, Director for Quality.
Can't hear you, Lynn.
Now?
Barely.
There.
How about now?
Oh, yeah. That's a lot better.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Lynn Gallagher, Director for Quality of Life. The electric bus project kicked off in January, and the goal for the project is to have 50% of the fleet be electric by the end of 2022. We are in the process of going through the RFP selection, and once that is completed, the group will select the vendor, and as a result of that, the goal for reaching what percentage will be 50% and at what date will change a little bit. But right now, all of our current fleet is still fuel oriented, and the goal is that by the end of 2022, a specific apportionment will be electric powered.
So Ms. Gallagher, we have no electric buses now?
Mayor, City Council, that's correct.
Ah, la, la. Okay, thank you, Ms. Gallagher. And then as far as page 24, Ms. Vaughn, you mentioned spots that are adopted. Can you elaborate on what those spots are and who adopts and what the process is? Is it like someone who can adopt a median on Roadrunner Parkway, hope, or Loman?
Mayor and Council Flores, this is Amber. I'd like to defer to Sonia Delgado, the Parks and Rec
Okay.
Director, for more information
Thank
on
you,
that.
thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Councilor Flores, Sonia Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. We can adopt some medians, but we do not adopt the medians that are in an area where there's a lot of traffic. There could be some accidents. We keep those individuals away from there, and we just have city staff because they are trained to handle those difficult situations.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is because, as you know, Ms. Delgado, we've been in meetings with very irate residents who live off of Parkway, or Roadrunner Parkway, and everybody in the city complains about Loman not being, and some have, I think the mayor at one point a few years ago suggested that they get together and form an organization or whatever and build it themselves, or not build it, but plant or whatever, landscape it. But this is a different program altogether. And, right? I mean, it's just an adoption by the city, and then it's something that's coordinated, but then busy streets are not good candidates for that. Okay.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, correct.
Okay, thank you. And then I did have a gentleman who called me who doesn't live in my district. I believe he's in Councilor Stuvey's districts, Abeta Stuvey. And he, but he has his business in my district, and he had been a sponsor with his name and his business on it, and apparently that was taken away. And I never really found out exactly why that was done. Was it for the very same reason? It was on Tell Shore near Missouri. So is it possible that there were people who adopted and then that was taken away? Or what do you think happened there in that situation? Do you know?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, I'm not sure. I'll need some more information so I can go find that out. However, we've had some individuals who have stopped taking care of those areas, and that's okay. That's entirely up to them. And so we'll remove that sign. But I can certainly, if you can give me the information, I can look into that and then follow back up with you.
Okay, I'll try to track it down. It was a few months ago. So I'll try to track that down, but I was just curious about all of that. Thank you.
Counselor, if I can interrupt real quick.
Yes.
Sonia, basically it was those small signs along Tell Shore median, and it was responded to that the city was looking to do away with those little small signs and basically turn them into one larger sign with various names on them as to who was sponsoring the medians. And so it appears as though they went away from those individual sponsors, which, frankly, I really couldn't understand why. I didn't really see the liability end of it, but that was the response that was given. It was about a year ago.
Yeah, that was about the time. Maybe it's the same one we're talking about, Mayor. Thank you. And then I have a question back to Ms. Vaughn about oh gosh, I have questions. Oh, the youth development program. Can anyone speak to that? And as I said, for me, this presentation went fast. It's not a criticism. It's just the reason I'm asking so many questions is because I barely had time to write the page number and the topic. Who can address the youth development program? What is it? Who benefits? Do we have stats on those? I mean, you're giving us stats insofar as goals. But how many, I'd like to have numbers insofar as how many people we're reaching out to, how many people have been involved, and what the success rate or the outcomes are. Do we have any of that?
Mayor, Councilor Flores, I'd have to defer to Sonia Delgado. She may have more of that data.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, Councilor Flores, Sonia Delgado, Parks and Rec. Are you speaking about the number of participants, the stat that we had who do not reoffend within a year?
Correct, correct.
We had approximately 350 students that were in that
Wow.
program. And we had 98% of them who did not reoffend. The data that we collect, that we keep track of them from a year after they complete the program, is the reoffense status, obviously, the school status, grades, their attendance, are they participating in school, drug use, pregnancy, and mental health well-being. So all these things are tracked one whole entire year after they finish the program. And we are at 98% that are not reoffending, that attend and successfully accomplish the program.
Well, that sounds wonderful. And what about the mental health tracking? How do you assess that on that 1-year follow-up?
We do have individuals who do the intakes, and so they do have information and forms, if you will, that they follow up with. But I can certainly get the specifics with regards to that and have that sent to you if you'd like. I do not have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
And how? No, it's quite all right. And what about? And how do you reach out? So you just go through the juvenile system or delinquency system or something and catch some of the juvenile offenders?
Yes, we work with Mayor, Councilor Flores. We work with the public schools. We have referrals that come to us. We have counselors that will send referrals to us. Of course, we work with the courts as well. We have a very close working relationship with them. And then our team does the assessment. And then we try and figure out what's the best course of action. If they do complete our program successfully, then we do track them for a year beyond that to see how they're doing. And that's where that 90% comes from.
Great, that sounds wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Delgado. And then I have a question about I guess it was at page 11, or the slide 11, Ms. Vaughn. There was something on education, and then there are more businesses in the West Mesa Industrial Park. Can you go back to page 11 so I can look at that? Okay. Oh, this comes out of the community development program, right? I mean, this is community development department.
Mayor and Councilor Flores, this is a collaboration, many departments.
Oh,
I'm sorry, who was just speaking? Please
sorry.
again.
oh,
Yes.
Amber Vaughn was speaking. She was responding to my question. This is Councilor Flores. I see. So the one-stop shop comes out of community development. More small business locating downtown is information from economic development, and then jointly sponsored events. Okay. All right. Okay, I have more questions, but I'm sure that my colleagues have questions that are similar or may cover some of the same questions I still have to ask, hopefully. Thank you, Ms. Vaughn, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Councilor Bencomo, excuse me, and then Abate the student.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Amber, for the presentation. I have to concur with Councilor Flores. I felt like that went by way too quickly. I would have loved to have more in-depth presentation about just some of, as a new counselor, obviously I wasn't around in 2017 when some of these things were created. So I would have just loved to see more in depth, because I had a lot of questions like how, right? Like, but how and how many on multiple things. And so maybe obviously not this round, but whatever the follow-up to this, looks like, perhaps as we begin to have more of these strategic planning conversations once we have a new city manager. You know, if we have this presentation again, I would like to see more in-depth information. Similarly to Councilor Flores, I had a question about youth development, the youth development diversion program, about property crime rate, and what are the tools and tactics we use to reduce some of those things, as opposed to just some of the layer, like, yes, we're meeting it, no, we're not meeting it. And then additionally, if we're not meeting it, I'd love to understand where some of the barriers are, where some of the challenges are to some of these goals, that I just feel like I didn't hear today. And then maybe just, well, so let me back up. These strategic goals were set by the council in 2017 and department directors, or who was involved in creating these?
Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, this is Amber Vaughn. This was done with the council in 2017, and I believe the city management staff at that time. The directors were not in that meeting.
Okay, so I don't know, you know, what it'll look like moving forward. Obviously, I think, like I said, there's been talk about having this, another one of these strategic planning sessions once we have a new permanent city manager. So I'm excited to have those conversations. And then honestly, I just want to throw out there, I don't have I think maybe I'll just ask maybe directly you, Amber, or David, an email for some follow-ups. The good thing too is that Councilor Beta-Stubbe and I have been doing a lot of onboarding with departments, and some of this information has been presented to us as well, which has been very helpful. But I think moving forward, I would love to understand, like, or set some like long-term, like, what are these goals leading up to, right? Like, we've set these, short-term goals, what is to what end, right? And I think as we move forward, what has really stuck with me in the last couple of weeks of conversations we've had at council meetings is our extremely high poverty rate, and that wondering how, as we move forward in strategic planning, that every goal is somehow related at reducing that 24% poverty rate, and improving people's quality of life in a meaningful way. So that's really all I had to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Beta-Stubbe.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Amber. I'm going to go for, if you could pull up slide 11, please, that would be great. And I had a question. I know that we were tracking the increased local contracting for city services. Do we have a number on what that percentage that we're currently at now?
Councilor Beta-Stubbe, Mayor, this is Amber. I would have to defer to Financial Services Director Terry or Alfredo Pacheco, whichever is participating. They may have more information on that.
Thank you.
Mayor and councilors, I'm going to have to go back and research that with Alex Liu in purchasing, because I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now I know we were looking for an increase. Did we have a specific number set in the strategic plan on what we were looking for that local purchasing?
Mayor, Councilor Beta-Stubbe, no, there was no number. This is Amber Vaughn, Performance Manager. There was no number set within the strategic priority. It was just we wanted an increase.
Okay. And what was the percentage that we were at when we started this process?
Councilor Beta-Stubbe, Mayor, Barbara De Leon may have more information on this, or we may need to research that. I'm unsure of what the percentage was off the top of my head.
Okay. Yes, I'd be curious to see where we started with and where we're at now, just to see what we've been doing. And then once again, I think Councilor Bencomo kind of mentioned, if we're doing well, what is working, and if there are struggles, if there are issues, what are those barriers that we can work on in the future? But yes, I would be very interested in having some of those numbers, please. The next one is for slide 6, and it is about our demographics on our interns for the co-ops. Did we have any of the breakdowns on for our interns, males, females, which departments that they were in?
Mayor, Councilor Abetha-Stewart, this is Amber Vaughn. I need to defer to Joe Richards, our HR director. She may have more information on that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, this is Joe Richards, Human Resources Director. I don't have those statistics right now, but I can certainly get you that information.
That'd be wonderful. And then it'd be great to also see the areas in which the interns are available to work at, and then to see if we are also, I always say equality with that. So wondering how many female applicants that we're seeing, and perhaps even more zones that are not considered traditional. I would just love to see what that looks like. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And my last question for now is about slide 20 with our mobile health service. And thank you. And that's how many calls have we been able to utilize in since the start of this program?
Mayor, Councilor, I'll defer. This is Amber Vaughn, Performance Manager. I'll defer to Chief Enriquez, see if he has that information.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Eric Enriquez, Fire Chief. I can tell you that with our mobile integrated health program that Paul Ford is a coordinator, he's done in the last 2.5 years, 864 calls is what he's been on. Those are the initial and then the follow-ups.
Okay, thank you. And this goes a little bit beyond just the strategic accomplishments, but for knowledge, it'd be interesting to see what in the last few months since the emergency health order, how many calls you've all been receiving and been able to work with this unit with. And perhaps that's something that can be answered later, but to see if this department has been able to handle probably the influx of calls, and if they are seeing any sort of influx during the last few months.
Oh, Councilor Stuvey, we have during this last quarter with the coronavirus, the mobile integrated health program has also taken on some of the high-risk clients from the seniors program. So the call volume did increase with the resources that were needed for those clients. We had to bring paramedics offline and on their days off to assist in the program. So we do have some numbers. We'll have to tabulate those as far as how much resource we put into that and how much of an increase those calls did go up during this time.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that and the work that they're doing. And those are all the questions that I have for now, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to my colleagues for asking some great questions. I think this process of setting up a strategic plan with measurable outcomes that are, I think, meant to be community driven in terms of the impact that they have in our communities department by department are good benchmarks for which to aspire to that aren't by any means, I think, comprehensive in terms of what all the departments do and other impacts that they have in our community. But they are, I think, some key measurable outcomes in determining success of how we're serving the community by department. And so in that respect, I think, it's good to continue to do these. Councilor Bencomo mentioned not being involved with the drafting of these. I don't think I was either. I came on board prior to these really being finalized, but did get to start the review process when I came on board as a city councilor, and have been waiting anxiously to kind of revisit these when the time comes for us to set some new strategic goals. And so I do look forward to that. I do want to make sure that perhaps there's a way for us to measure the community support and community impact as it comes to these particular goals on the next round of our strategic plan. Just to make sure that we are in line, I think, especially with our constituents and our districts in terms of, what they'd like to see prioritized. And so hopefully the next time we get to work on these strategic goals, we can come up with a good process, building on a process that really seeks and facilitates the input of our community, and probably now, honestly, is more aligned with our Elevate Las Cruces plan, right? What parts of that plan can we prioritize that can be done in the short term and medium term and long term? So, I mean, overall, I think we've done a pretty good job at measuring all of these, and thank all the departments for for sticking to the plan and continuing to look at improvements in other areas while also focusing on these plans. And so I don't have any particular questions at this point. I do just look forward to figuring out how to center strategic goals in the future that this council can agree to, that is in line with what the community wants and needs, and then working with the new city manager, hopefully to be able to build that out. So thank you to staff, and thank you to council for the great presentation. For the great questions on this presentation. It would be good maybe to have some of this data available as a public information document beyond a PowerPoint, just so that if we don't already, perhaps on our website or in another location, that we can also make this information easily accessible to the public, so that they can look at some of the things that have been accomplished, and perhaps some of that data or links to the reports that councilors have asked for can be included in that document. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor Pro Tem Gondara.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate my colleagues here. As a person who did participate in this process, I thought it was a good process in that we were very transparent with the council then and the public. It was an open meeting. We invited folks to come and participate in this process. We received some dialogue, and for me, this was always the council strategic plan moving forward for year over year, right, from 2017 to 2022. I certainly had envisioned this process, one of being very collaborative and coordinated and communicative to the public. And with that said, I think you see some overarching goals, if you will, around communication, community participation, and with Jamie Rickman's programming in terms of I felt like it was really skimmed through very fast, but with that, we developed the Ask Las Cruces app, really trying to engage people that had the opportunity online and or to call in to let people know all sorts of things that are happening, from potholes to graffiti to, and I think that Ask Las Cruces has been actually very instrumental in then streamlining those reports, if you will, and how quickly and effective and efficiently staff has been to meet the needs, right, and the demands of the citizenry. And so then next, for me, it was also a document that encouraged a moral document, if you will, right, that quality of life to that council at that point in time to continue on into 22 was extremely important. That being said, there were things like, helping businesses come to the downtown, more activity in the downtown, more free activity in the downtown. Things like building on a children's museum, all the work that Engage was doing as it related to children and parents, developing a one-stop shop, be it the museums. And so I would have loved to have heard specifically about ensuring that folks had a space or a place to be able to capture resources. This wasn't it. And I think what's happening and what we're finding is that you see a lot of the department heads, directors, to include our city manager, not the same. And so how are we moving and re-educating or re-emphasizing the importance of peak performance and the council directives, if you will, as it relates to this. So I agree. It was, I would have liked to have seen a little more detailed information. With that said, I also want folks to realize that we were also building on the strengths that we already have as a community, to the point of things like building our Wi-Fi infrastructure. And so Amber, and I don't know, I mentioned this and I'll say it publicly, the Wi-Fi and the plaza is a great thing, but I think that the council then spoke to the Wi-Fi really north to south, right, in the downtown area, encouraging not only business, but people to come to the downtown area. Many of us have gone and visited other places and see that there's free Wi-Fi. And so it was an incentive not only for people to come to the downtown, but to help businesses come to the downtown. So although I'm very appreciative of the plaza, I think there was a miscommunication in my mind about what the Wi-Fi was. And I get the idea that anti-donation is a problem. But I also would like sort of an update on the Klein Park and reason behind picking Klein Park in that area specifically is we have kids that are sitting out at the senior centers trying to get on Wi-Fi to do various things. And so we know that in our more impoverished communities, that is an access problem, and we're finding that out more and more with COVID. So I appreciate that, but what I'm also looking for is what were the positives that each department saw in terms of figuring out how to meet these strategic plan goals and objectives. What was the pitfalls? Also, we had talked about a dashboard, so there wouldn't be any question from counselors that you could go to the dashboard, find out look at the strategic plan and say, basically, where is everything at and where do we need, similar to like the Go bond, right? Where you see the percentages of completion. I would hope that we could move in that direction. Lastly, I would like to see where are we with the 21 and the 22 goals? And did you identify that? I'm sorry if you did. It was a pretty fast and furious presentation, and I just like to remind staff. Some of us do live and breathe it every day. Others of us don't. It's not in our expertise. So I'm asking you to be mindful of that and present things in a way that we're able to grasp and understand it, so that then we can articulate the good work that I know you all are doing. With that said, Mayor, I'll ask for that answer.
Mayor, Councilor Gonda, this is Amber Vaughn. No, I do not have in this presentation the FY 21 and 22 goals and where we're at with those. I will definitely get that to you and work on that. As for the department dashboards and the strategic plan dashboards, that is, we did contract with OpenGov, and we're in the process of making that go. That did get delayed based on bad software last time, and I apologize for that. And we are working towards that and hope to have that up and running September of this year.
Okay, what about the 2020 strategic priorities in each of those? Did you highlight any? You did for the Wi-Fi and things that are in progress, but are there other things? And again, I'm looking at the one-stop shop for parents and children to be able to receive information as it relates to childcare and such. I didn't really see anything on that.
Mayor, Councilor Gondra, are you talking about this one? This is Amber Vaughn again, the resources
No.
and brochure?
I'm not, I know that, and I have it up here is the resource brochure, which maybe my colleagues are not aware. We contracted, or I shouldn't say that. We work with New Mexico State University, the dual program at social work and the other program to help formulate this. They came twice to assist us. And there was meaningful data that supported next steps. My hope and desire was that we would continue to work with them to help us move through not only developing a brochure that someone can take away, but also online. But the various things, because there were focus groups done with staff, and sort of next steps as it relates to the possibilities of structuring a health and human services department. And so I guess we're in a conundrum, right? I think we have a lot of new people who aren't as aware of the historical knowledge, but how do we move forward with that as we are moving to hiring new folks to get up to speed with that, because this is all important work that you all have done. I didn't do it. I'm happy to articulate and tell folks I'm proud of the work that you all have done. I tout it as much as I can, but we're sort of in a spot where there's a barrier in terms of how information is going back and forth. So how do we work through that, Miss Amber? David Dollahan. Barbara
Mayor, this is David Maestas, interim city manager. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that question, those comments. I think specifically for this one item, the resource and information brochure, the way I understood that item is as it's written there in the follow-up, our main thing was to have something available that would be on the city website or have a pamphlet that we could pass out and that people would have an opportunity to look at that one document and get an idea of what resources are available throughout the community. The one thing that we did need to continue to do with the group from NMSU, and unfortunately with the changes that everybody's run through, we weren't able to get those students back for this upcoming semester. But what we want to do is update that brochure so that it remains current, because there are several of those agencies that change, or at least the contacts change. With respect to the additional request, potential human health and human services type items, that might be something that we start looking into as we begin our planning for the next strategic plan that council is going to put together. And that will lead close to what Councilor Bencomo was talking about earlier with the items that she would be looking for. So I think definitely that item should be jotted down, which I've done, and that becomes something that we look into with our next strategic plan development. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Anything else, Mayor Pro Tem?
No, Mayor, am I one of the last ones? I wasn't sure. I didn't want to, I felt like
Councilor Sork has.
Yeah. I just wanted to give a little bit of history and how important I thought being on council then was developing this, and how we sort of bring people in, the new council to that. And I'm with them. I think we need to see a little more detail. And I would like to have heard from the directors specifically as Amber was rolling it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sork.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To start with, I'd like to concur with the rest of the council. They did make a lot of good points, ask some good questions, and I concur with them on those points and questions. There's the same things I'm concerned about. It was a rather quick presentation. I would not be opposed to having a stop at each slide, just in case there was a 1 or 2 questions on that particular slide as we go through, and you know, and do take it one step at a time, so to speak. But that way, not all of them would, of course, be asked questions on them, but it just give them the chance. So some more detail in some areas would have been nice, like some of you said. I also thought that, you know, we aren't perfect. We don't always achieve our goals that we set out. Some of the goals we had were fairly lofty, and I would appreciate if there was some shortcomings to point out, if not all of them, just a few of them, or 1 or 2 of them, just to see where we're at. If we didn't quite reach a goal, that's fine. We'll just keep on going. The dashboard, again, I'm glad that Mayor Pro Tem pointed that out. I always liked dashboards also. But you know, we've done a lot in the last 3 years in this city. There was a lot of big projects and things done that we did. So it's just not this strategic plan. It was a lot of things to go with it. The comprehensive plan was mentioned. The GO bond was mentioned, is another big project that we got done in the last 3 years. So we've done a lot, and I congratulate the staff for getting those things done too, and done very successfully. But just the same, I'm looking to the future. There's changes that we've had in the city in the last 3 years, and we need to have, with new city councilors especially, we need to have another look at our plans for the future. And so I'm looking forward to the strategic plan retreat. We call it a retreat, new city councilors, and going through the future. The ones in the 20 to 22 timeframe, there again are pretty low. Just to pick out one, the Las Cruces Airport Terminal will be renovated to accommodate 20,000 enplanements per year. I don't know where we are on that, but that's not what I would expect to be told today. But just as an example of what we've got going in the future. And last but not least, or not least, but last, but we also were talking about more transportation opportunities, such as a rail from Las Cruces to El Paso. Okay, so Mr. Mayor, that's it. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Flores, did you have another comment?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Thank you. The other question I have is where was it? Oh, at page 25, there was something about LCPD and the training. And let me get this out of the way here, there. So, you know, it's wonderful that we have this police personnel will be trained. I've been out there. I saw what the training is like. I saw the SWAT team and the that big looks like a military something, whatever. At any rate, the academy is there, but the question that comes up that is definitely timely at this point is the amount of training. And I'm not sure that there are any real, I mean, this is almost the accomplishment for LCPD seems to be form and not substance. And I'm just wondering if there are any strategic plan for LCPD. I don't know if it's indicated. I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't know, but I do know this, that there has to be, we have to be looking at not necessarily, well, the kind of training that, that officers are getting, but also frequent training. One of my neighbors is a retired Air Force, big, honcho, dear neighbor. And he was saying that, the training is probably very good training. He says, but, it has to be consistent. It has to be over and over and over again. So I hope that our facilities, our East Mesa Public Safety Complex has that potential to be training our officers frequently. And I don't, just like reminders or whatever, or, I mean, I'm not privy to the kind of training that goes on, the details, but I would like to see some of that. I know that this is a big topic that we covered last week, following at last week's meeting, but that's something I would like to see, and I'd like to have some measurables in the future in that regard. So does anybody, I don't know if it's the city manager or the police chief who would be able to respond to what I'm saying?
I don't know if Chief Gallagher is here, but maybe Deputy Chief.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Deputy Chief Dominguez, hello, how are you?
Well, Chief Gallagher's here.
Dr. Gallagher, Las Cruces Police Chief.
Oh, he is here. I thought I saw his name. Hello, Chief. So did you hear my comment, and can you?
I did, yeah. And I recognize that specific incident, that result speaks more towards the facility than the actual training. Let me talk a little bit about the training. The facility itself, though, is much better than we did have. It was the facility that they were trained in was an old double wide trailer, which was totally inadequate. I mean, a lot of history, a lot of pride for the LCPD to have that academy. We're only to one of, I think it's 4 police departments in the state that run our own academy. And the only one this small that runs their own academy. There was talk, if you remember a while back, about possibly funding from the governor to establish a regional training facility in this part of the state. Obviously, with the current budget shortfall, I think that has gone by the wayside, but we would still be very interested in pursuing that to maybe get a more consistent and consistent is the best word, training for all officers in this part of the state. I think that would be good. As far as our training, the state requires, I believe, about 16 weeks of training. That's what they do for their officers. If you send an officer up to Santa Fe to get trained, they'll get about 16 weeks of training. We provide anywhere from 22 to 24 weeks of training. So we provide a significant amount more than is required. Some of that is bringing in members of the community to speak to our officers. A lot of that is our crisis intervention training. One of our other goals or strategic results we had that wasn't included in the slide was that 70% of our officers would have the advanced crisis intervention training. If you remember, the state requires officers get 40 hours in that training. We've set a goal of 70% of our officers getting 80 hours of that training. We have gotten 92% of our officers getting that amount of training to date. And the reason it's not 100% is because it's been proven that that training, the second part of it, the advanced crisis intervention training, is more effective when an officer has some time as a police officer. You can't give it to them immediately when they're in the academy. So as soon as, probably in this year, I would imagine, if not early next year, we'll get close to 100% as far as that training goes. So we are, of course, open to revising our training as conditions change. We're always looking at it, looking for best practices and trends. What are other departments doing? What is the International Association of Chief of Police recommending? And what is our community saying?
Well, Chief, thank you so much for that. And I think our community has spoken and is speaking and speaking loudly. And I'm so glad that my neighbor shared that all the training, as good as training can be, it isn't good. It doesn't have any effect if it isn't consistent and often. So I know nothing. So I'm only sharing this one person's. He had a lot of success in the different assignments he had, or whatever they're called, and just makes sense to me. It's one of those practice makes perfect type of thing. It's like, I've been trying brownie recipes and it's like, no, this didn't work here. Let me try it over and over. So over a period of 2 weeks, I tried out 3 brownie recipes and, but it was constant, it was that practice to see, where do I add more chocolate or what do I do cocoa? Do I do bittersweet? So, I mean, I don't mean to simplify the importance or minimize the importance, but that's how I see it. It made sense to me when my neighbor said that. So I don't know if that's in the cards for our police department, but I would really like to see that because my experience, my personal experience, and I've shared this before, is a positive one. The statistics don't speak very well, but those statistics also are born from a lot of objective conditions that we live in today. So, and it's a question of our police department really being equipped to handle all of that. Well, Chief Gallagher, remember about a year or 2 years ago, we went for that, what's it called? It was over at DACC and.
Oh, the firearms simulator.
Yeah.
Use of force simulator.
Yeah, I mean, I died in about 1 second. I think the only survivor was the mayor and everybody else died because, you're in a situation and I had already seen other people go before me and see what they had done or was it after we were kept? I don't know how it was, but it isn't the simulator. I don't know what training is all about, but it seems to me that even a constant simulator type thing would be helpful because there was a trick. There was one where I know that I held back on shooting, but the mayor didn't, and that was the one where the trick at the end was the video changed a little, and he did have the person pulled over did have a gun, but the mayor shot him. So it's stuff like that, and I'm not trying to in any way simplify the difficult situations that police officers or law enforcement is put in those stressful situations. But again, it seems to me that we really have to have that as a goal. We have to have systems that are going to have good outcomes. So thank you very much, Chief Gallagher. And I did have another question, and Mr. Mayor. Let's see. Ms. Vaughn did open with a little bit of background, and she did say that we had our offsite meetings, which in my humble opinion are worthless. And the reason is because I attended some before I became a city councilor. And I think we had 2 in 2017 and I went to them. And the only people that were there were staff and the whole crew that had to move City Hall over to the location. And one of them was at the Aquatic Center, the Hadley, whatever, the one on Hadley and Solano. And so are we going to continue with those or what is, see, that's the thing too about this presentation. We did this, but there wasn't any real assessment as to where do we go from here, or are we going to follow up with say like offsite meetings?
So Councilor Flores, let me just share this with you. I appreciate you and the others. Councilor Sorek can appreciate this, and you and the others who you have some members of the public who come to these meetings and criticize us for not having night meetings and this and that. Since I've been on council since 2001, we used to have night meetings, and then we went to the day meetings, and then we started doing these quarterly meetings. And what I'm trying to get at is you're absolutely right. The ones who go to council meetings they go regardless of the time, and it doesn't increase participation unless they have to be on the agenda. What I'm trying to get at is that's why they elect us, to take care of city business, their business. Plus, they're busy running their households, working, maybe some of them 2 jobs, and they hope that they elect someone that will at least represent their concerns and their views. That's why we have email and take phone calls and things of this nature. So what I'm trying to say is, and every so often we go through this, and then council members realize, you know what, this doesn't increase at anything. We ought to just stay put.
Right.
With Zoom, what we're doing here, I think I would wager that we have more participation, at least more people watching this than the old way on cable CLC channel 20, because not everybody had cable. A lot of people probably have more internet or access to internet than, say, cable.
True.
So,
True.
because I've noticed that the emails have increased, and I think they have more access to it, which is good. That's what you want. And if they see something, they usually tend to say something. And so I think that I guess what I'm trying to get at is, I'm okay, but I would prefer to just stay put at City Hall when the time comes. And
I agree. And then
but still have the night meetings every quarter, but not necessarily move around the city.
Yeah, that's good. I agree with that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And then, so I'm glad we addressed that. And what about policy? I think Amber said that this in her introduction that there was this was to revise policy or policy implementation as well. And I think that, yeah, it's time to really look at all of this again, especially with our new counselors who will hopefully serve more than one term, and will be able to carry on the information such as Gil Sorg, Councilor Sorg, and Mayor Pro Tem Gandara have done. We need to review that. And then of the 3 items that she mentioned, there was the Leadership Academy that was implemented. And I think in what I have seen and heard from people who participated, it's been very successful. And I think that, I think that we should definitely continue with that. And I don't think there was any measurement for that. I don't think that was part of it was part of the strategic plan. So, and I think that, if I was to just evaluate that, I'd say it's 100% successful, because 100% of there were a few students who couldn't complete for one reason or another. But so maybe it was a 98% success story, maybe 99. But thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are other questions, but I'll just direct them to the city manager and the department people. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, did you just forget to put your hand down, or did you have another question?
Mayor, I just wanted to ask in terms of the mentoring program, I think, I don't recall if Amber talked about part of the reason that we paid, so in utilities, one of the things that I understood was they were having trouble recruiting and retaining in that water treatment facility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Garcia, or that represents the area. And so we worked on paying their schooling, and they would come back and then pay us back, if you will, by working for us. And so I was and seeing that article in the newspaper was awesome to see how that in process, right? That helping an entity that normally has trouble with the positions, recruiting these positions. And so my question is, how is HR moving forward in these co-ops and the internships? Because often what I had found in talking to our NMSU students, they weren't aware that even the city would be an option for any of the for any of our departments. So I know that there was a survey that was spoken of, but how would we move forward in recruiting NMSU? How would we be working with the chancellor and the president because that's one of their goals, is keeping people local, right? Keeping the students, graduating them and keeping them local. So how are we working with the university to collaboratively to ensure that that take place?
Mayor Pro Tem, I know you mentioned Dr. Garcia, and I know he's here, but I know we've only met her once, but she has attended our meetings, and that's the Deputy Director, Delilah Walsh. So maybe she may want to chime in. But also, and I know that the community college still, I think, still has that program, because I know that's where a lot of times we would get, they would offering an associate's degree in wastewater management, which was working out really good. I don't know if that's still moving in that same direction. But anyways.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Walsh knows all that.
Okay, yeah, I think she's here. So
Yes.
Delilah, would you want to speak to that? What
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Gondara, Delilah Walsh, Assistant Utilities Director. We've actually had quite great success with the internship program. We just started it. Our first intern graduated after the spring semester and transitioned to a regular full-time employee. We have 3 more graduating in December. So they each only have, I believe, 2 classes left, and they filed for their degree certification. So we'll be transitioning those 3. In addition to that, I'm very excited that our newest intern will be coming out of LCPS's ACES program, and that's their alternative education to get more hands-on work. And he's transitioning from ACES to DACC's water technology program, and we're hoping to get him started as an intern in the fall semester. So in addition to that, we're also expanding. We've talked to Dr. Terry Mound with DACC to look at other programs like in the plumbing program to expand the internships. And I've also been working with Mary DiLorenzo with NMSU's Extension Edge program and Dr. Medina with the Masters of Public Administration program to see if we can identify more opportunities for our staff within the utility as well as recruitment opportunities.
Delilah, thank you so much.
Mayor
I
Pro
think
Tem,
that was, yes.
Excuse me for interrupting, but it looks like David and Joe had also a couple comments they wanted to say. David Maestas and Joe Richards.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is Interim City Manager David Maestas. I'll defer to Joe first, and then if there's anything after she's spoken, we can get back to me.
Okay. Joe?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Joe Richards, Human Resources Director. Yes, we are actively working with both the branch and NMSU for recruiting and with their co-op programs. We've also been working with the Bridge of Southern New Mexico. Staff have been working closely with them to recruit for different opportunities as well.
Thank you so much. I think
Dr. Martinez also jumped in here. Do you want to defer to her, David Maestas, and then?
Yes, sir, I sure will. Let her go ahead. This is David Maestas.
Okay, Dr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Griselda Martinez, Economic Development Director for the record. To add to what Ms. Richards mentioned, we will have an update to you all City Council members on the efforts that we've been working on, collaborative between the Workforce Talent Collaborative and all the members. Well, the highlights will be among a few members, but it will provide some additional details to what you're seeing in the presentation today. And that will be sometime in July.
Okay, great. Thank you. David Maestas, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Very good. Thank you, Mayor. David Maestas. Yes, I will just add one small piece. Both Joe and Griselda hit on that. There is a job fair that NMSU will put on. It's a partnership with Workforce Solutions, and we typically will send staff from each of the departments who hire co-ops, specifically in the engineering departments and some and other departments throughout the city. And with the staff there, they will go to these job fairs and work on getting the information out to the students there about their potential to get on as a co-op with the city of Las Cruces. And then, as many of you might know, because we've talked about it several times, sometimes those co-op positions turn into full-time positions with the city afterwards. Thank you.
Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Gondara.
Thank you. I just appreciate each and every one of you. I think this is something to be very proud of, that the city does very well in terms of them locating and recruiting, retaining high school and university graduates to sort of then recruit them into working with the city, all in the effort of keeping our wonderful talent here in town. And so, just to my point, Mayor, the New Mexico State University is also looking at sort of a survey of sorts, and rather than do our own individual, maybe working together with New Mexico State University, partnering, right, to do the survey together would be helpful. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I get to Councilor Beta Stuvey, so Delilah, you mentioned Mary D. Lorenzo. Is that the one who used to work for the Association of Counties years ago?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Mayor. She is. She runs the EDGE program through
Oh, great.
NMSU.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay, Councilor Beta Stuvey.
Thank you, Mayor. To follow up on something, I actually want to say that I truly have appreciated the nighttime work sessions. It was one of the only ways that I was able to participate before coming on to council, was to be able to do something that was more on an after hours thing. So I know that it varies, and I know that people participate at different stages and times, but when they do feel like they have a vested interest in the subject matter, or they feel welcome to participate, there's more opportunities. So I do really want to encourage us to keep those at least nighttime work sessions, but see what we can do to expand that public participation, and offering it at different times is very beneficial to those that can't make our 1 o'clock meetings, even if they are at work and can't listen in or tune in, but can still participate. So I do very much think that they're beneficial for our community to keep in, and greatly appreciated that opportunity to participate in those fashions, and want to make sure that my constituents have those same opportunities. Thank you.
Councilor, I wasn't looking to get rid of those. Just a lot of times, some of the concerns when we go to different places, it's so hard for the internet service, the voice quality, even the film quality, but still keeping those, but keeping them possibly when the time comes at City Hall.
That'd be great. Keeping them at City Hall is fine. Having them at night, I am a fan of having regular meetings at night too, from time to time, to allow for that participation. But I do agree, we do want to make sure that it's accessible for those other reasons too. But yeah, I do think that the nighttime is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Amber, is there any more information you wanted to share with us?
Mayor, Council, no, that is all I have for today. Thank you.
David, is that pretty much it? I mean, we don't have anything else? I know we just had one item on the agenda, but I'm like a fish out of water here. It's 2:30 and I'm not used to ending the work session this early.
Hello, Mayor. David Maestas. No, we didn't have anything else on the agenda. This was it. So if there are no further questions on this one, I want to thank staff for their work on the presentation. It was quite a bit of information to put together. Thank council for their questions on additional items. Several departments and several staff members were involved to get together for what you had in front of you now, but we can work on some additional items as may be necessary. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Well, wouldn't be the same without the last minute 11th hour question from Councilor Flores.
Yes, well, it's you can blame Mr. Maestas, because I thought he was going to say yes, and we will be working with on the new strategic plan, or be addressing what's coming for 21-22, because that's the part of the strategic plan we still have to pursue. So any word on that, or is it an inappropriate question? Not inappropriate, but not indicated at this time, Mr. Maestas?
Yes, Mayor, Councilor Flores, David Maestas, appreciate the question. That is one of the questions I was referring to when I said I had jotted down notes and taken down information from council as they brought items up. And that was one of the things that was brought up. So definitely we will be looking into that and then providing a response to council for it.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Maestas. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have a closing comment?
I do. I'm hoping that my recommendation would be to have a session where we look at the 20 to 22 strategic goals or strategies and kind of update rather than wait. I know that staff is, maybe we're waiting for the new city manager. I'm not sure, but I don't know that this is helpful to us. I think we need to come back and now that we have staff that has reviewed from the beginning to current, or at least 2019, that we should look at 2020 through 2022 and speak.
Uh-oh, we lost you. We can designate a work session. I was looking at the schedule and we've got a few open slots there, Mayor Pro Tem, so I have no problem with that. One last thing. I don't suppose, David, we've gotten our gross receipts tax report in by any chance? Should be any day now. Just interested to see how that was looking.
Yes, Mayor. We actually have received the gross receipts tax report. I don't have a final breakdown. I was going to sit down with our budget department and our economist for their interpretation, but the numbers were generally better than what we were projecting the COVID impact would be. You might recall for the month of now in the month of June, that would have been for April, which was the full month.
I think it was, okay, we're in the full month now, right?
That's
But
correct.
the month before we were down just 1% when we were projecting like 3%.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so this one here is the big one here, because I think this will pretty much will be one of the toughest ones we'll suffer, is this report here that you're about ready to say.
Yes, sir, and you got that correct. And the projection from staff for the full month, which would have been April, was approximately 18 to 19% is what we thought the impact might be. And the gross receipts that came in was quite a bit less than that, more on the magnitude of a drop of about 8% instead of the drop of 19% that we had anticipated.
Really? So how much dollar-wise was that?
That is the part, Mayor, that I will have to look up for you to get more specific.
I figured about $500,000, which, you know, in the ballpark, we can easily take care of that, but that's great.
I think you are close with that number, Mayor. Don't quote me on that, but I think.
No, that's good. Okay, great. Wow, fantastic news. Okay, well, that ends in a good note. Thank you for that. That's really good. That's good old Las Cruces economy. That's great. Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. This is Sorg.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Vasquez, that we adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. It's 2:36 p.m. Thanks. Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.